The times are changing. Gaming is changing. We always see that happening. We always see people saying, oh, well, things are different. Gaming's changed. And now we have Phil Spencer doing an interview where he's talking about Game Pass going on other platforms, including like Nintendo and PlayStation platforms. And I thought that what he had to say was very interesting. And not only did I find it to be very interesting, but maybe a little bit of echoing of what a lot of people think in terms of being able to put your games on another platform and the whole idea of exclusives and things like that, because I do feel like that's something that, as fans, we kind of sit there and we look at and we go, well, then what's the point? And I do feel that way, right? But I also feel that I've read enough and I know enough that the gaming platforms, the console gaming platforms, are kind of stuck in this same rut that they've been in for a long time. And maybe you guys have heard people talk about it. I know Sean Layden has talked about it. Phil Spencer has talked about it a little bit. Basically, there's the same amount of console owners now as there has been for like the last 20 years or so. And they're not really growing the industry the way that, that they're hoping to, right? Like, how can you grow the industry? Like, this is basically, even though gaming makes so much money, right? The big problem is, it's not making, it's not going to continue growing. So they're always going to be looking for ways to grow it. This explains why Sony is looking to put some of their older games on PC platform. Because even though they're making record profits, they're going to always want to make more. And Microsoft is the same way. So Microsoft puts all their stuff on, the console. They put all their stuff on PC. That's what the whole cloud initiative is, where you can play their games on phones or tablets or whatever, and in the future, even on TVs. And that's their whole initiative. They want that to be the norm. They think that that's the way to access these billions of gamers that haven't gamed yet. I personally have a little bit different feeling about that. I feel like, if people really wanted to play those hardcore games, that they'd be able to find a way and to, pay almost $200 a year for Game Pass to play games, to stream games over a phone. And those phones are often more expensive than the consoles. I find it to be very problematic. And, I think that that's also something that, as gamers, we all probably feel the same way. But I did want to get into this. Hopefully you guys are all doing good. Phil Spencer doesn't he basically kind of goes where I thought he would with this. But Xbox Game Pass apparently isn't wanted by other console makers, but Phil Spencer is open to discuss it with them. Phil Spencer hasn't been shy about his ambitions to expand the Xbox brand and Xbox Game Pass beyond Microsoft's own hardware, and they're already doing that with PC and mobile. But what about other consoles? Rumors about the app and Game Pass coming to Switch floated around a couple years ago, and even the PlayStation 4, but nothing ever came of it. So could it actually happen someday? Don't count on it. In a new interview with Games Radar, Phil Spencer indicated Game Pass probably isn't coming to Switch or any other non-Microsoft console anytime soon, for the simple reason Nintendo and Sony don't want it. For now, the focus will be on open platforms like PC, mobile, and browsers. This is what Phil Spencer had to say, and quote, it's the right question, because people usually ask me about releasing one individual game or another, and what I say is, I want the full Xbox experience to be something that we deliver. We have no plans to bring the Xbox app to any other kind of closed platforms, mainly because those closed platforms don't want something like Xbox Game Pass. There's a ton of other platforms out there for us to grow in, the web, PC, and mobile. So all of our focus, frankly, is on those platforms. That's not a slam on anybody else who has a system that works for them. I can see why the disruption of Game Pass is not something that they want right now. In the end, when we say we want everybody to play on Xbox, we really mean if we can bring that full experience to a device that players want, we are totally open to those discussions. So once again, we hear him basically reiterate that he definitely wants Game Pass on PlayStation and Nintendo consoles. And is that a problem? I think that that's going to be the question that you're going to have to ask a lot of fans. Some people would probably go, no, hey, I'd love it. And you know what? Listen, at this particular point, you have Xbox games literally available everywhere at this point. What's it matter putting them on a few more? That's the way I kind of look at it. The main thing reason why I think that this won't happen is because if you look at specifically what Sony does per se, right? they make a ton of money off third-party sales, right? Like their games, their third-party sales are through the roof. Oftentimes you'll see a split of a third-party multi-platform game of 80% of the sales going to PlayStation and only 20% going to Xbox. Why would they ever allow Game Pass to come onto their consoles and take away a sale of their games? I mean, even if Microsoft were to say we'll give you one-to-one what it was doing, it doesn't do them any good, because that really just helps grow Microsoft's platform, and that's probably not counterproductive to what Sony wants to do with their own type of, PlayStation Plus and PlayStation Now and things like that. So I don't think they'll ever allow it, but it is very interesting to keep hearing Phil Spencer double down on the idea that they're open to putting everything everywhere, even on PlayStation, even on on Nintendo platforms and things like that. So it's not too surprising. I'm sure Spencer would love to have Xbox Game Pass on Switch and PlayStation 5, but console makers derive all their money from the control they exert over their platforms, and they don't want Phil messing with that. Maybe that will change someday, but don't hold your breath. But right now, Nintendo or Sony are doing more than fine, and Microsoft isn't in a position to exert any pressure on them. So not only are they not exerting any pressure on them, but if you want to get kind of technical about it, Microsoft is really maybe tipping a little bit of desperation. And listen, this is not an attack on Microsoft whatsoever, but if you look at the sustainability and look at what Sean Layden said recently, where they would need over 100 million subscribers, he might have even said 200 million subscribers, I don't know, or more, but and I don't think they're going to be able to get there the means that they think. Even if you have 70 million consoles in the wild, you might be able to get 30 to 40 million people on Game Pass, and then another 15, even on the high end, 15 to 20 million on PC on the Game Pass. So again, is that going to be enough at the 45 million subscribers? I mean, I think that's something that you have to ask. Like, they seem to be in a real scramble to sort of get everything in a line to where they have enough subscribers to support what they're doing. And I think that if you ask me, I think that it's probably somewhere along the lines of a 5-year buffer for them, right? Like, they're hoping to get all this stuff done within a 5-year buffer time period. So hopefully that is something that can happen. I not through other means, because I feel like if Game Pass is available on other platforms, it's much less of a reason to own an Xbox, and it's a much less of a reason for them to actually make an Xbox. So for obviously multiple reasons, I hope that that's not the case, but we'll have to wait and see how that works out. But Phil has been very vocal about this. This isn't the first time that we've heard him say it. I think that it's one of those things that each one of us has to kind of look at and go, well, is this something that really we want? And that's the thing that I think all of us should be asking ourselves, because I totally get where he's coming from, but like, I'm a multiple console owner. I buy a Switch for Nintendo stuff, or I buy Nintendo's platforms for Nintendo games. I buy Xbox stuff for the Xbox games. I mean, it used to be I'd buy Xbox for because they had really good multiplayer and online, and they still do, but I don't play as much multiplayer as I used to. And just at the end of the day, I feel like I buy PlayStation for the great single player AAA exclusives, and all three offer something different. So I hope that continues on. But when you start putting your stuff everywhere, I think it kind of waters down your product a little bit, like in particular where you have the force to play online against like maybe PC players, or I don't really think it's fair to match up console players, especially like on a Series X versus somebody still on an Xbox One. If you look at Halo Infinite, Xbox One is going to be doing 30 frames per second in the multiplayer versus 120 frames per second on the Series X or PC. Could be even higher than that. That's a huge disadvantage. And imagine somebody playing on a phone through some kind of stream or something like that. It's going to be even worse. That's a very unfair advantage for certain people, and an unfair disadvantage for certain people. So that's the way I kind of look at it. Like, I remember just back in the day, Xbox used to just have a ton of people to play Halo 3. It wasn't uncommon to get over 1 million people concurrently playing all over the world. You would see, I remember when Call of Duty Black Ops came out, 3 million people playing that night, because I was one of them. you know, my entire gaming clan was playing that night. So, you know, again, I'm gonna link this. Fascinating stuff. Please watch. Thanks for watching, and give it a like if you enjoyed it, and tell your friends. Rack 'em up, fact 'em up. Crapgamer out.